There's a voice inside you that whispers, sometimes screams, "You're not good enough. Why even try? You're going to fail again." Most people don't even realize this voice is not theirs. It's an echo from fear, failure, and conditioning. But here's the brutal truth. If you don't kill that voice, it will kill your potential. Negative thinking is not just an inconvenience. It's a parasite, slowly devouring your confidence, your ambition, and your identity. It is the invisible tyrant shaping your reality without your consent, and today we're going to drag it into the light and end its reign. Once and for all, you live in a psychological war zone. Each day, your mind is bombarded by thoughts, some useful, many destructive. And here's the trap. Negative thoughts often disguise themselves as realistic or logical. They wear the mask of maturity, but don't be fooled. You are constantly under attack by the worst enemy you've ever known, your untrained, undisciplined mind. If you let it roam without supervision, it will default to chaos. Why? Because chaos is easy, complaining is easy, doubt is easy, building a life of meaning isn't. That requires deliberate thinking. So what's the solution? Awareness. Track your thoughts like a predator stalking prey. Write them down, see them, question them. Then you start to separate you from the negativity. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who judges them. Every word you say about yourself creates the blueprint of your life. If your inner dialogue is constantly filled with phrases like, "I can't," "I'm not capable," "It always goes wrong for me," then don't be surprised when life mirrors that script. Your nervous system listens to the language you use. Your beliefs are not just in your head. They get into your posture, your tone, your choices, and here's the twist. You don't have to fully believe the opposite yet to start changing the language. Say it anyway. Speak like a person who respects themselves. Changing your internal language is not lying to yourself. It's giving yourself a new identity to grow into. A tree does not look like a tree when it's a seed, but that doesn't make it any less destined to become one. If you wait until you feel better to take action, you will never move. Negative thinking feeds on your inaction. It thrives in comfort zones, but discipline, that is the scalpel that cuts it out of your life. Get up early, make your bed, go to the gym, write the plan, stick to it. Do what is necessary even when you don't feel like it. Because the more you act against your negative thinking, the less power it has. You prove every day that you are stronger than your doubts. Discipline is not cruelty, it is mercy. It gives you structure in the face of emotional chaos. It is the daily war cry of the person who refuses to be conquered by their own mind. Your negative thoughts will always whisper, "Take it easy, stay safe, avoid pain." But the truth is, avoiding pain is not the same as avoiding suffering. People who chase comfort without meaning drown in existential despair. You must reverse the aim. Don't aim for comfort, aim for meaning, aim for responsibility. Choose the hardest thing you can do that would make your life better, and pursue it like it matters, because it does. When you begin to live with purpose, negative thoughts start to suffocate. They can't survive in a soul that has direction. They lose their voice in someone who is climbing a meaningful mountain. So stop asking, "What will make me feel better?" Ask, "What will make me proud of myself?" You live in a psychological war zone, and most people have no idea that they are under siege. Their thoughts, particularly the negative ones, aren't just fleeting ideas. They are destructive weapons. These thoughts creep in unnoticed, subtly undermining your confidence, distorting your perception of reality, and convincing you that you're stuck, broken, or doomed to fail. They masquerade as logic, pretending to be rational warnings or cautionary wisdom. But in truth, they are nothing more than deeply rooted cognitive distortions, lies you've rehearsed so often they feel like truth. Think about how your brain functions when it's left on autopilot. Without discipline, the mind doesn't drift toward clarity and hope. It sinks into disorder and doubt. Left to its own devices, your internal dialogue becomes a breeding ground for fear, criticism, and inertia. This isn't because you're weak, it's because your brain is hardwired to prioritize danger. It evolved to detect threats, to focus on what might go wrong so you could survive. But today, That evolutionary mechanism often turns inward and begins to treat you as the threat. The result, a constant stream of self-sabotaging thoughts that tell you you're not enough, that you shouldn't try, that failure is guaranteed. Most people let these thoughts take the wheel. They don't challenge them. They don't even notice them. But your thoughts are not neutral. They are active forces that shape your behaviors, your decisions, your habits, your self-image. If you believe you are incapable, you will act as if you are incapable. If you believe that your past defines you, you will never escape it. You become imprisoned in a cage built entirely by your own thoughts. But here's the thing. Your thoughts are not you. They are patterns. They are scripts. And scripts can be rewritten. The key is awareness. When you begin to track what you're thinking, really observe it without judgment, you gain distance from the thought. That distance is where power begins. You can hold a negative thought in your hand and say, "Is this useful? Is this true? Is this helping me become who I want to be?" Most of the time, the answer is no. And the moment you see that clearly, you are no longer the victim of your mind. You are the master of it. This battle is not won in a single day. It is fought moment by moment, choice by choice. But every time you notice a negative thought and choose not to believe it, not to feed it, you starve the enemy, and with time the voice grows quieter, weaker, until it no longer rules your life. The words you speak, both aloud and in your own head, are not just expressions of your current state. They are architects of your future reality. Most people underestimate the profound power of language. They think talking down to themselves is harmless, even necessary. "I'm just being honest," they say. But that so-called honesty is often just self-directed cruelty disguised as realism. When you constantly declare, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," you're not describing your limits, you're reinforcing them. You're training your subconscious to accept those boundaries as fixed and unchangeable. Language is not passive, it is creative. It doesn't just reflect reality, it shapes it. The more you repeat a phrase, the more your mind believes it and begins to filter your experiences to validate it. Say, "I always fail," and your brain will go looking for failures to support that narrative. Say, "I'm not capable," and your nervous system will respond by hesitating, shrinking, doubting. The words you choose become the story you live in, and you must be careful not to build a prison with your own vocabulary. Here's where it gets dangerous. Many of us inherited our language. We learned it from broken parents, fearful teachers, or a cynical culture. And now, without realizing it, we continue the cycle, speaking to ourselves in the same limiting tones. We call ourselves names, dismiss our dreams, and belittle our progress. And we wonder why we feel stuck. It's because we've accepted a vocabulary of defeat. But the beautiful truth is that you can change the script. You can replace the language of limitation with one of possibility. It starts by catching yourself in the act, hearing the words as they come out and asking, "Would I speak this way to someone I love?" If the answer is no, then why speak it to yourself? You do not need to wait until you feel confident to speak confidence. You don't have to wait until you've succeeded to call yourself strong. That kind of language isn't a lie, it's an investment. It's the seed of a new identity. Speak the words that align with who you want to become, not just who you've been. Declare the truth of your potential, even if your current circumstances haven't caught up yet. Your words will lead your life. Speak with purpose, with precision, and with the kind of conviction that makes negative thinking uncomfortable in your presence. Waiting until you feel ready to act is one of the greatest traps negative thinking sets. It convinces you that emotion must come before motion, that clarity, motivation, or confidence should arrive first, and then you'll get to work. But that's not how it works. If you sit around waiting to feel better, you're surrendering control to your emotional state. You're letting your mood dictate your movement, and that's exactly how people stay stuck for years. Negative thinking thrives in that gap between thought and action. It feeds on your hesitation, your overthinking, your procrastination. Every time you delay action, you empower the internal critic. Discipline is the antidote. It doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't care whether you're inspired or not. Discipline is what remains when motivation fails. It's the structure that you build around your life, not because life is easy, but because it's hard. And your response to that hardship determines who you become. When you commit to discipline, you are choosing to become the kind of person who acts regardless of fear, doubt, or resistance. And that decision slowly begins to rewire your mind. You get up in the morning even when your thoughts say, stay in bed. You eat clean, go for the run, show up to work, write the page, study the material, even when your inner voice tells you it's pointless or too hard. That's not pretending everything's okay. That's fighting for the version of yourself that you could become. It's proof, in action, that your thoughts don't run your life. You do. And something incredible happens when you consistently practice discipline. Your negative thoughts start to lose credibility. They become background noise. Why? Because your actions disprove them day after day. You build evidence of your own strength, competence, and resilience. Every disciplined choice becomes a small rebellion against the voice that says you're weak or unworthy. Over time, that rebellion becomes a revolution, and that revolution becomes your identity. Discipline doesn't silence negative thoughts overnight, but it does rob them of their authority. You begin to see them for what they are, just words, just feelings, just echoes of fear, not facts, not prophecies. Not laws, just static, and the more you move forward with discipline, the quieter that static becomes. You don't need to wait to feel powerful to act powerfully. In fact, it's the act itself that makes you powerful. Negative thinking often sells the illusion of safety. It tells you to stay where you are, avoid risk, and cling to comfort. It promises ease, protection, and certainty, but all it delivers is stagnation. You sit still in the name of safety, yet slowly feel the erosion of your soul. That's because comfort, when pursued without purpose, decays into meaninglessness, and no amount of ease can compensate for a life that feels empty. The antidote is not more comfort, it's more meaning. Meaning doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from voluntarily confronting what's difficult, from shouldering responsibility, from saying yes to the burdens that force you to grow. The truth is, you are wired to need challenge, your brain, your body, your spirit. They all hunger for the tension of transformation. Without it, you become anxious, restless, depressed. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something essential is missing from your life, purpose. Negative thinking flourishes in purposelessness. When you don't know why you're doing something, every obstacle feels heavier, every failure feels final. But when you're anchored in a mission, when your actions are tied to a deeper why, your tolerance for pain expands. You begin to endure discomfort with dignity because you know it leads somewhere worth going. The presence of meaning transforms suffering into sacrifice. It gives direction to your discipline and a spine to your identity. Finding that meaning doesn't require some cosmic revelation. It starts small. It's in the moment you take responsibility for your health, your habits, and your choices. It's in the decision to make your world, even just your corner of it, a little bit better than it was yesterday. Maybe it's in raising your children well, building something honest, telling the truth when it's hard, or showing up for someone who depends on you. These acts may not seem dramatic, but they're quietly heroic. They give your life weight, depth, and structure. The more you pursue meaning, the more your negative thoughts begin to lose their grip. They can't thrive in the light of a focused, purposeful life. They rely on confusion and drift. But when you live with intention, those thoughts become irrelevant. You no longer need them. You replace the false comfort they offer with the real fulfillment of earned progress. You no longer ask, what will protect me from pain? You begin to ask, what pain is worth enduring for something greater? And in that question, you reclaim your power. Negative thinking is not a harmless habit. It is a silent force that shapes your life in ways most never even notice. It begins in the shadows of your mind, whispering doubts and feeding fears, often masquerading as logic or realism. but its true goal is not to keep you safe, it's to keep you small. If left unchecked, negative thinking becomes a world, a filter through which you see not only yourself but the entire world. And that filter distorts everything. It convinces you to lower your standards, to retreat from challenges, and to accept far less than you're capable of. The first step toward freedom is recognizing that your thoughts are not facts, they are choices and they can be changed. Your internal world, the language you use, the way you interpret events, the story you tell about your life, creates the foundation of your external world. If you speak weakness into existence, if you rehearse your failures in your mind and echo them in your speech, you build a life that reflects that internal decay. But when you begin to speak with strength, even before you feel strong, when you begin to challenge the toxic words you've accepted for years, something inside you shifts. You stop being a prisoner of your own mind and become the architect of your new reality. Your language becomes a declaration of war against negativity, and each word of self-respect, resilience, and responsibility becomes a building block of a new self. But talk alone isn't enough. Action is the crucible where identity is forged. Discipline, repeated daily, becomes the knife that carves your character. The greatest form of self-respect is not in what you say you will do. It is in what you consistently do despite how you feel. When you choose discipline over indulgence, effort over excuses, and commitment over comfort, you prove to yourself that you are greater than the sum of your doubts. Each disciplined act silences the negative voice inside because it cannot argue with evidence. And over time, those choices compound. They become who you are. You stop being someone who battles negative thoughts occasionally and become someone who outgrows them completely. Ultimately, to kill your negative thinking is not merely about silencing the inner critic. It's about replacing it with a deeper, more powerful voice, a voice grounded in meaning, forged in effort, and sustained by truth. You are not here to live a life dictated by fear, self-doubt, or shame. You are here to take on the burden of responsibility, to find purpose in the struggle, and to walk through the fire with your head held high. Comfort will try to seduce you, but comfort without purpose is poison. Real peace doesn't come from escaping difficulty. It comes from facing it with courage, anchored in something larger than yourself. Kill your negative thinking not because it's uncomfortable, but because it's unworthy of you. Would you now like a thank you and goodbye note for uploading YouTube SEO description why you should watch this video, with emojis, keywords, at least 25, trending hashtags 25. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If these words stirred something in you, if they challenged, empowered, or awakened your mindset, then I invite you to carry that energy forward. Don't let this just be another motivational moment that fades away. Let it be a turning point. If you found value in this message, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so others can join you on this journey of self-mastery. Your support not only helps grow this community, it spreads a message that desperately needs to be heard in today's world. Remember, you have the power to rewrite your narrative, to kill the voice of negativity, and to step into a life led by purpose and strength. You are not your thoughts. You are the force that chooses what to believe. Until next time, stay sharp, stay disciplined, and above all, stay true to the path that demands the best version of you. Thank you, and goodbye for now. Fire.